Hello, sixth graders. This is Mrs. Moon, and I am making a brief video this morning on what you need to know for K-Prep about rectangular prisms. So first of all, what is a rectangular prism? A rectangular prism is a prism or a three-dimensional figure in which the bases of the figure are rectangles. So if you look at the figure I have sketched here, we'll see a base of a rectangle with a length of 10 units and a width of 3 units. The top is also going to be congruent or equal to the bottom. That's one of the characteristics of a rectangular prism. The bottom and the top are the exact same shape. So this also is going to have a width of 10 units, or a length of 10 units and a width of 3 units. So these two rectangles that sit on top and bottom of this three-dimensional shape are equal. Now, what is it that makes this a prism? Well, if you take these two and you separate them and then draw straight lines down at all of the vertices or all the corners and connect, we create a shape that is called a prism. Now, what we'll see is when we have a prism of any kind, we have these rectangles here that connect our top and bottom rectangles. So these rectangles are called the lateral faces of the prism. Now, there's two things that you absolutely have to know for K-Prep regarding rectangular prisms. One of those things is how to calculate the volume of a rectangular prism. There's a formula to calculate volume that's very simple. It is length times the width times the height. You are going to be given those measurements. So here, I would say that my length of my rectangular prism is 10 units. My width of this rectangular prism is 3 units. And the height is 15 units. The height is always the distance between those two bases. So if I'm asked to calculate this volume, length is 10 units times width, 3 units, times height, 15 units, then I'm going to multiply 10 times 3 times 15. So 10 multiplied by 3 we know is 30. If I multiply from left to right, and then I have to also multiply 30 by 15 to get my volume. So if I multiply here on the side, 15 multiplied by 30, 3 times 5 is 15, 3 times 1 is 3, plus 1 more is 4. I get that my volume of the rectangular prism, volume meaning the space inside of the figure, is 450 square units. So the volume is 450 units squared. So again, volume of a rectangular prism is super easy. Multiply 3 values, the length, the width, and the height. Volume is the space inside. So if I were going to fill this up with liquid, how much liquid would it hold? Well, it would hold 450 square units of liquid. Okay, now let's talk about the other topic that you have to know about rectangular prisms is surface area. Now, the surface area is completely different than volume. Area specifically is not really talking about 3 dimensions. Area is talking about 2 dimensions. So we're really just talking about length and width when we talk about area. Well, our figure is 3-dimensional. So what we do to calculate the surface area is we basically cut it apart and lay it out flat and calculate then the 2-dimensional area of the space inside each of the faces of this particular figure. So what's going to happen is we're going to have 2 bases, the top and the bottom, that are going to have the same area. So we're going to find the area of those 2 bases combined, And then we're going to have 4 lateral faces, one on each side of this rectangular prism. 1, 2, the back is 3, and this side is 4. So we're going to calculate the area of each of those, and then we're going to add all of those up. So there's a total of 6 faces. There's 2 bases, the top and the bottom, and there's 4 lateral faces, one on each side. So that's a total of 6 faces that we're going to add up the area to get the complete surface area. So to do this, we like to draw a net of our rectangular prism. So what I like to do when I draw a net is I begin by drawing the lateral faces. So if I notice my front, let's call this the front, my front of this particular rectangular prism has dimensions 10 by 15. So I'm going to label that here. Then I want you to think, let's go around the figure. What are the dimensions of this right side? Well, it's 3 units wide, but it's still going to be the same height as the first face. So it's going to be 3 by 15. So when I draw that connected here, I'm going to show that this was 3, but the height is still 15. Sorry, there it is. Okay. Now, if I go around to the back, I'm going around the figure. The back side should be the same as the front side. So again, we're going to have a rectangle that is 10 by 15. 10 by 15. And then if I go around to this left-hand side, the left-hand side should be the same as the right-hand side. So that should have dimensions 3 by 15. So 3 by 15. So that's how we create the lateral faces in our net. Now, the last thing we have to do is just think about our bases, or our top and our bottom. Our top and our bottom should have dimensions 10 across and 3 deep, or we said the length was 10, the width was 3. So it's 10 by 3. So first of all, let's connect our top and our bottom. Pick one of these lateral faces to connect our top and our bottom to. I'm just going to connect it right here. And I know that if this is 10, this is also 10. And then this is 3. So it's 10 by 3. So that would be my top. And I'm also going to draw the bottom. That's a 10 by 3. So here is my opened up net of my 3-dimensional rectangular prism. So this is what I'm going to use to calculate the area. Now remember that the area of a rectangle uses this formula. Area equals length times the width, or sometimes we see it, area equals the base times the height. So basically I have 6 rectangles here that I'm going to calculate the area of and add them all together. Let me start by calculating the area of the top and the bottom, those top and bottom faces that are called the bases of this prism. So the area is going to be my length 10 multiplied by my width 3. So area is going to equal 10 times 3, or 30. But how many of those bases are there? There's 2 of them, top and bottom. So I'm going to multiply 30 by 2 and say that the area of my bases is 60. Okay, remember, to find the surface area, I'm going to find the area of the 2 bases, which we found to be 60, and I'm going to add the area of the 4 lateral faces. So I've still got these 4 lateral faces, and it just so happens that these 2 are the same, and these 2 are the same. So I'm going to calculate the area now of this particular lateral face, which has dimensions 10 by 15. So the area of a lateral face is going to be 10 times 15, or 150. 150 square units. How many of these faces are there? There's this one and there's this one that are the same. So since there are 2 of them, I'm going to multiply that by 2 and say that the area of those 2 lateral faces is 300 square units. Okay, so I've done 2 bases and 2 lateral faces. I have 2 lateral faces left. So I'm going to calculate the area of those 2 lateral faces. And that will be, let's see, those dimensions are 3 by 15. 3 by 15. So I'm going to do 3 multiplied by 15, which is 45. And I see, shade those, show that I've calculated their area. There's 2 of them, so I'm going to multiply that by 2. So I get 90 square units. So the area of 2 bases is 60. The area of 2 lateral faces is 300. The area of the other 2 lateral faces is 90. To get the surface area of the entire rectangular prism, or the area of this complete net, I'm going to add these 3 numbers together. So 60 plus 300 plus 90, which is a total area of 450. So I would say that my surface area of the rectangular prism is 450 square units. And before I finish this video, let me go right back to the volume. When we calculate volume, you may have noticed I made a big boo-boo right here. We don't find square units, we find cube units. So this should have been 450 units cubed is our volume. 450 units squared is our surface area. I hope this helps you some in understanding how to calculate the volume and the surface area of a rectangular prism. Good luck to you.